you know, the theme this year is tail and tail. So a lot of animal things will be part of the process. Next slide. Are you doing the slides or am I?
Sorry, Lori, I am doing the
Okay.
slides. I just 1 second. There's a issue with the recording, so I'm just working on that.
It looks good on my end.
Okay, go on. Next slide.
Okay. We're playing with this and we're at different ends of the building. So, you know, it's not like when you're in the same room, you can go, do it now. Well, you could, if you had my voice, you can do that. I want to point out our agenda to you here. We're going to start with a little bit of an introduction to summer, which we've kind of been doing while everybody's been joining us, but also into the CSLP resources. Couture has done a lot of work with all kinds of programming ideas and some suggestions for partnerships for you to be looking at. We will also be having Melanie Miller and Sherilyn Wise. Melanie is from the Alfred Boxer Book and Sherilyn is from the Cuba Circulating Library. They've been using a software called Genially to present virtual programs. Want to present that to you as an idea. Lindsay's going to talk about the program resources that we have, and then we have some other things, and we also want to hear your ideas. So again, don't forget to talk to us, unmute your mic, add things. Let's make this as interactive as we can. Next. So those of you who have been doing this a while, you know about CSLP. It is the Collaborative Summer Library Program. It is a national organization in which a lot of states buy into, New York State being one of them. As this collaborative, you pay to be a member, not you, New York State. New York State pays for each public library to be a member of this organization, and therefore you have a lot of resources available to you. So I want to spend a little time talking about those resources. The first of which is a website. It is www.cslpreads.org. And I'll put that in the chat in just a moment. It will open to a screen that looks very like this. The picture that shows will scroll into different things. It's just I happened to capture it right as the whale was on the screen. I've highlighted 3 parts of this screen that I want to draw your attention to. The first of which is the summer reading resources. It's a drop-down menu, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later in the presentation. I want you to know that they are there. You do not have to be logged in at all at this point in time to see these things. You will see them with no login. So even if you're not a member, if you're in, I don't know, state Timbuktu that doesn't pay, you can see this. The other red box I want to point out to you are inclusion resources. There's a lot of really cool things that are there. And the third box is login. So the next screen will talk about the inclusion resources. So once you click on inclusion resources, you get this drop-down menu. And the neat thing about this is it's cumulative from many, many years. So not all of it is absolutely related to this year's slogan, but to look over how you might include someone who is hearing impaired in your programming. Some articles and information about how you might address poverty in your programming. Vision disabilities, and there's a whole lot of different things, and the level of information in them is varied based on the topic and what they've had supplied to them. I want to point out the very last one, which are signing videos. Those were created, I have to pick this up and read it, in 2013, so a whole nother slogan time frame. But you know, you may do a story time. They're really aimed at very young children. And you might do a story time in which you want to include some signing, and this might be helpful. So while they were created a while ago, they are really well done, and I urge you to look at them. So that third box that I talked about on the previous screen, which is logging in. If we go to the next screen, this one, whoop, back one. This one, this one. You go to that button, and I actually have to log in. You enter your name, you register with the site. They will in turn send you a password to the site. That process usually takes about 24 hours. I think the website says maybe up to 72. I've never had anyone tell me it takes them 72 hours to get a password. Once you get the password, then you can look at that first box there, manual downloads. You have already, each of your libraries have received the manual on a USB. You have also, if you requested it, a print manual, and you have access to the manual and everything produced by CSLP right here by looking at this manual download. I urge you also to make certain before you start using any of the graphics or anything else that you have a look at the terms of use. It's really important to know about the copyright, who owns what, how you can use things. That's very important. Next slide. So if you click on manual downloads, I'm sorry. If you click on terms of use, this is what you will get. When you click on manual downloads, you will get asked for your access code. This is it. Everybody in New York State uses this. NY, capital NY 21, exclamation point, go 78. You don't have to pay for this. Remember, I'm telling you, New York State is paid for this for every public library. You have to enter this access code. This will allow you to see the content that they have under manual download. And if we go to the next screen, you will see this. This is what you see under manual download. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see a little bit about the manual, pretty much just what you see on your USB, or if you have the print manual, what you see there. You can see that manual in the same way on the right-hand side, but it's dynamic. So when you open it, instead of it telling you to go to links, you can actually click on things and move around. So if you're comfortable in that kind of an environment, you may want to look at the dynamic programming and look at that. It seems kind of redundant to get the manual and all that information on a USB and then to have it presented to you here again. Back one, this one. So what you also get is so much more here on the electronic version. You can sort this information in a wild variety of ways. So if you never do adult programming, you can actually sort the chapters and the topics by your targeted audience. So if you're the person that delivers teen services, you don't want anything for early lit, you can actually sort that out in ways that are not as completely possible in the print manual. The artwork is here. The neat thing about the artwork is it's all right there. What I want to also point out, if you see that red arrow, so you can narrow your searches as you're doing it, that red arrow points to additional content. Currently, as of yesterday, there were 104 items in additional content. The reason I'm sharing that with you is because it's electronic. They add things all the time. So you're going to see, I have not seen it yet, but you will see public service announcement. So if you connect with your radio station or you have a local TV station, you might be able to use those. If you also look at additional content, you will find badges that have been created. You'll find other ways than the graphics. If we go to the next screen, Also, reading record. These were just put up on Friday, I believe. And they were created by Indiana, Idaho, Ohio, another state who shares them with the national organization so all of us can use them. So if I only took screen captures of the kids and the teens, there is also one for the adults, there's one for preschoolers. So if you really like this idea and you want your kids to do some kind of coloring thing as they read as a way of tracking, you can use this. You don't have to recreate it. It's here. Please have a look to see what's available that you can use that you don't have to recreate. And as I said, these were just put up on Friday. It changes all the time. I urge you to sign up to the site. Look at it. You know, there's going to be a slow night on the desk. Just scan through and see if there's something new. You never know. Just have a look to see what's there. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katura, who has a ton, or no pun intended, a whale of a lot of programs for you.
Ha, 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 ha. Thank you, Lori. Lori, can you hear me? Thumbs up? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good morning. So, if this were a typical year, I'd probably get to wear a costume or sing a song or do something fun, but I'd be wearing a tail for sure. But it's a different year, so we're going virtual, but we're still having fun. So I am talking a bit about some programming ideas. Bear with me, it's all over the map. I will share these slides with you afterwards because there are some links which you may find useful, and I don't want you to have to write those down while we're in our meeting. So I will share those today. So first of all, as Lori mentioned, we don't know. We might be outdoors. We might be indoors. We might be doing more take and makes, right? So this year I was thinking about programs where portable is the key word. So portable is ideal. So think of an idea that if you can get the supplies now, make up the templates, etc., and then use them. Either put them in a brown paper bag for to-go programs, or maybe we'll be able to do them outside as a group. Just be ready for anything. So trying to think in terms of adaptability and portability. So I know a lot of you have been doing awesome take and makes since the pandemic started last summer through the winter, even now. So the first part, I'm going to talk about some of those. First thing, whoops, wrong slide. Oh, sorry, didn't show you the slide. Here you go. Portable is ideal. Next, supplies. So brown paper sacks are easy, cheap, and you can find them in most any kind of store. If you want to get a little bit, if you have heavier projects, this brown paper sack on the right, it's called Craft Bag. It has a handle on top, and it's going to stand up and hold a little bit better. So if you're doing an adult program or program with, heavier objects, that might be something you want to look for. Those are all available online in most of your major retail stores. Over here on the left are some plastic bags, which I found. Obviously, we get sandwich bags or Ziploc bags from pretty much any store. These are fun, and you can see the sizes down below. They come up to these little teeny bags, and then there's some longer ones. I actually found these, if you are familiar with Penn Yan, they have a store called Oak Hill Bulk Foods. They have a bunch of this sort of stuff in there. They come in packages of like 100, and 100 bags for $2.49. So if you divide that up, it's a pretty pretty cheap bargain. You can also order those online if you want to, but if you want to buy them local, that's certainly a possibility. And as well as, so containers. So here, those dishes I'm showing you, I also got those at Oak Hill, Bulk Foods. So there's those. And if you see me holding up, these are the smaller size, like condiment cups, they're called. You can get these restaurant supply stores. You can get them online, craft supply stores. If you just need a few, you might ask a local restaurant if they could lend some to you. But they make for if you have something like paint that you just want to put a little bit of paint in, or a little bit of Mod Podge. You can't give everybody a whole container. Put it in a nice little condiment cup with a lid, and you're good to go. Over on the other side, some other types of packaging. This happens to be a bag I got at the Rockwell Museum. It's an art kit, take and make, and they had like a craft paper box, which is blank. You can decorate that, decoupage. They had paint here in the little condiment cup. They've got a canvas art board there. And then a little paper bag, which has some beads in it, and then some fabric scraps here in the Ziploc. So these are all just sort of different ways to package up and make your supplies portable. This idea I am borrowing from Alex Andrazik at Penn Yan Public Library. So we have thought mostly about take and makes as take and not bring back, which is awesome. But if you're doing some projects for adults or teenagers that maybe will use some equipment, you can consider these loanable take and make kits. So I have here a picture of the flyer that Alex made. This craft was particularly for Valentine's Day. It was called Arts and Drafts, which is a pun because when he did his online portion of it, they sampled some drinks, I believe. That's totally up to you, but it can just be an arts and crafts kit. So he used like a reusable tote, a plastic tote here, and inside he has like a brayer, which is the thing you kind of make prints with. Those are too pricey to just make 50 kits and give them away. So they had a dozen kits, and an adult could sign up for the program, borrow the kit, join the webinar, and then bring back the supplies when they were done. So that's just a thought for something you might want to do if you have something that involves a little bit of more intensive equipment. Sorry. And okay, so then I took a look at the manual, which Lori just told you how to access online. My favorite 3 crafts were the blobfish slime, which can easily be a take and make, or it can be an outdoor project if you're at the library. The shiny CD fish take and make, which is pictured there, and then a cut and glue shark. Obviously, we like projects that upcycle, so the shiny CD fish, they need old CDs. Maybe you have some. If you need some, let your friends at STLS know, because we also have a whole bunch which we could provide for you. And when you get the slides, you'll see the links to those activities. Other things that were mentioned in the manual, a bug hotel, which is kind of a fun craft, which gives you a lot of freedom. You can make all kinds of, you can use all kinds of stuff to make that, and it's a lot of nature things, so it would involve like a nature walk. And then on the bottom, rocking paper sharks. Those again are a very inexpensive take and make craft. You could supply the paper, and depending on the age, you can have the kids practice their scissor skills and put on the eyes. I shamelessly borrow from other library systems, organizations across the country when they have great ideas. I think we all do. That's cool. So I found this page from the Alabama Public Library Service, and they have this picture here is a screenshot of their website, and you could see that they have this list of grab and go cards. Each one of these is a easy craft, which you can either make into a take and make kit, or you can just provide the instructions. And some of these need very little stuff like cotton balls, and maybe people have those at home, or you can print those off and put them in a take and make kit with the ingredients, the implements that they need. Also, they have some cool videos. I don't think I showed a picture of that, but they have some pretty cool videos. This is my favorite. It's the 3D aquarium, which they made out of an old VHS case. So video cassette case. I couldn't find one, so I couldn't make my own, but I thought theirs was pretty awesome. It's a little aquarium, and so if you've got some VHS cases sitting around, here's a great way to use them. Just give paper googly eyes, whatever you want to have in that aquarium, and then that can be made on site or on the go, and it's pretty cute. Another library, Goffstown Public Library, has a great list of take and make kits with adults in mind. So if you're working with older teens or adults, they've got some cool ideas. They come with very nice printable PDF instruction sheets. You could just supply the materials, and I'll show you the one I liked a lot was this yarn bird. Fits in with our animal theme. Pretty simple, just takes some yarn and be a fun and cute little craft. Next, this one I made at home last night, which is fun. So I used these water beads, which I believe we ordered from Amazon, but you can find them other places. And you put the water beads in a bowl there with water, and then they eventually plump up. And using a funnel, you can funnel them into a balloon. Here I am funneling. Oh, it doesn't show you the picture. Show you the picture of the finished. Oh, there it is. Yeah, in the corner is my purple balloon stress ball. So that's a kind of fun, I don't know, maybe older tween teen activity, adult activity, anybody who wants to relieve a little stress, an easy activity. These water beads go a long way, so you can get a lot of use out of one container. My book hedgehog. Boy, I'm so proud of him. I brought him with me. He's even here with me today. I've seen lots of ideas for these out there. Best thing about this, it just takes an old paperback book and then a lot of folding. So I used a book that was over 400 pages. I would advise to use a shorter book because it's a lot of folding, but it's pretty easy fold because I'm terrible at origami. So this was easy for me. Stick on some eyes, make some ears out of felt or paper, and a nose, and that's pretty easy. So that craft kit would just be like a paperback book, eyes, ears, and nose, and put it in a bag with instructions, and that can be for anybody of any age because it's so fun. Terrarium make and take. This is another one I did. This is actually, I gave this to my family for Christmas because we normally do a craft together on Christmas, but we couldn't this year because of social distancing. So instead, I gave them a craft kit. I used mason jars just because I had them. You do not need to. You can use any sort of container. You can use a peanut butter jar if you clean it out really well. So that's plastic. So if it's for a child, not liable to break. And start collecting those peanut butter jars now. And then you just, buy a bag of potting soil and separate the potting soil into those little smaller plastic bags like I showed you. And then we use I forget this, some of them had seashells and we had little rocks and some colored sand. And then you just kind of layer it all in there and you get a terrarium, which is a fun, naturey kind of thing to do. You can also stick in, I have like a little bug stuck in mine, a little plastic bug. So if you have plastic animals or anything like that, stick them in. That, again, is something you can do on site or people can take home with them. Embroidery necklace. So I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing mine today, which I made, I don't know, a bunch of years ago. But this is a pretty easy, again, for older teens or adults. You can give them a piece of fabric, some embroidery floss, a sewing needle, and then copy out of a book or print off a page detailing some simple embroidery stitches. And then these little frames that you see there, I got those on Amazon, but you can find things like that in craft stores. And then the person can embroider their initial or embroider a little picture, whatever they want on the fabric, and make it into a necklace or keychain. It's pretty simple, low technology, kind of fun. And everybody's favorite, the cardboard loom make and take. I love these because you can make them big or small. Mine is the one down here at the bottom with the orange. It's tiny. You can make them bigger if you want. Depends on what size piece of cardboard you use. But then just give the folks a piece of cardboard, some yarn, string, and then they can hang it. In the upper picture, they're hung with a popsicle stick. Mine, I found a twig on a bush outside this morning, and to make it look naturey, stuck it in there. And again, this can be adapted for different ages because more detailed weaving might be fun for adults. Simple stuff can be good for kids. Another low-tech activity. Also, you can use a lot of vocabulary terms that they might not know, like if you weave, terms like warp and weft, which is a cool way to help people learn new stuff. My animal bookends. This is fun. So this picture you see here with the red elephants, that is from a website. I definitely did not make that, but I think they're gorgeous. So I decided to make my own, and we had here at STLS some leftover plastic animals from the kits we used to circulate some years ago in the canvas bags. And we also have a bunch of bookends. So today, this morning actually, I attempted at first to do an elephant because I love elephants. Well, I'm going to teach you this little lesson. If your animal has a solid body, you can't really cut through it. It's going to be really hard. So the elephant was a no-go. So I changed over to this, I'm sorry, I'm not even warthog. I'm not sure what animal this is, but he had a hollow body, so he was super easy to just cut through with scissors or an X-Acto knife. And then we had some plastic bookends around STLS that I basically just glued the front of him on. I used hot glue. You can use different kinds of glue. And then his backside, and you can see him there on the shelf. I might want to paint these or, paint them metallic gold or something fun if I had more time. Or you might just want to leave them as is. But that's another fun teen or adult craft. So you can definitely make yours fancier, like these red elephants. They used rocks. You could also use a piece of wood as the bottom if you don't have any extra bookends. Just another fun thing to do. And then I do encourage you, though, to check that your animals are hollow, so they'd be lighter and not heavy when you cut them for ease. So here's another resource, which when I send you the slides, you can click on this link. The Colorado Statewide Summer Learning Program has compiled a bunch of take and make activities into a spreadsheet. These are a couple animal soda bottle planters, paper cup jellyfish, and sock bunnies. So all of those could be used this summer with our Tails and Tails theme, or whenever you want, just for fun. The sock bunny is just a sock with rice in it, and then use like a marker to make his face, and you do a few simple stitches to close him up there. Going on to a kind of a different idea than you're not actually making something, is it's more like an activity take and make. So this one's for a cat's cradle, which if you remember being a kid or have kids, you might remember doing with string with your hands. Kids like this. It's fun, takes up time. It's a good activity for a rainy day. So if you can give them a long piece of string and then some instructions. I borrowed this sheet from a library, the Imagine If libraries. The link is there as well. But you can just show them some basic shapes they can make with a cat's cradle. And they included, which I really like, is some history, which they tell you it's one of the oldest games in human history. It's the art of making pictures or telling stories with string and sometimes feet, your hands and feet. So that's just a pretty simple, you can make this is just a piece of string. You could tie it together. It doesn't need to be a special string, just a little sturdy. And then that's a pretty inexpensive, fun activity for a youth or tween. Similar to the card trick make and take. You can buy like lots, like dozens of cards on Amazon or other places, get a bunch of packs of cards for a pretty low price. Or you can ask people to donate. I had like 8 decks of cards in my house. I don't know why, but I obviously had extras. So you could put that in a paper bag and a sheet with some different kinds of card tricks. And you've given some kids something to do on an afternoon in the summer that they can do alone or with friends. And I don't know, kids like card tricks. It's just something fun. It's a different kind of take on the take and make. You're not really making, but you are learning a skill. Another library I borrowed from is the Attleboro Public Library. They have instructions for mini science experiments and take and make crafts. As an example, I show their string art instructions there, which you just supply the people with cardboard, string, and then they use brads, the little metal fasteners, to put the string around to make a design. So again, you'll get the link and you can see that and some of their other projects. But again, low tech, fun. Another library I borrowed from, Oak Creek Public Library. So they also have an archive of craft ideas and instructions that can be take and makes. I show their polar bear there on the upper right, which is probably for a kid, made out of a handprint. But they do have some ideas also for teens and adults. Down below, I have the DIY recycled paper flowers, which could be for some older kids. And again, you'll get that link. You could take a look. Pretty fun. And then there's things that are super simple. So this is a clothespin caterpillar here with pom-poms and googly eyes, super simple, but put a clothespin in a bag, some pom-poms, eyes, pipe cleaner, and that's a graft. Here on the right, I have some of the dies that we have AccuCut dies for that involve animals. They're also on the wall behind me here in my office. These can be, add googly eyes, take crayons, markers, draw on them, add pipe cleaners, add stickers, anything you want. Or if you want to use them as a reading record, put stickers on when a kid reads so many books, etc. On the bottom, I show a monkey with a holes in it. It's actually a little finger puppet, so that's kind of fun. And then right next to him is an elephant with a trunk, and that's actually a bookmark. So the trunk comes out as like a bookmark. Those are easy, inexpensive, and fun. You can use foam. I think I made foam for the whales, or construction paper, cardstock, pretty simple. And I did want to remind you about this webinar. I did send an email out the other day, coming up on March 31st from noon to 12:45. It's Summer Reading Resources for Younger Readers with Print Disabilities. That's sponsored by the Talking Book and Braille Library of New York State. So you might want to sign up for that as a way to learn how to incorporate young readers with print disabilities into programming, which is always cool. And the last thing, I borrowed this from the manual. The Indiana Young Readers Center, the CSLP partnered with them, and they created like a small booklet. I think it's like 6 or 8 pages that you can print out that has some kind of themed story times, and then it has a program for ages 0 to 6, K to 5, and 6 to 12. And I also like this. Clifford the Big Red Dog is another hand project, using your hand, tracing it to make Clifford. Whoops. And so that is in the manual, which you can find. That is all I have right now. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to the next section? I know it was fast.
Katura, Chris had a
Yes.
good question in the chat
Mhm.
about defining print disability.
Finding print disability. Sure. So that is a person who either has a vision disability, which makes print characters difficult to read, or it could be someone who has a traumatic brain injury and maybe has trouble reading print characters as a result of that. So it's basically people who have issues with printed words, printed materials because of some sort of vision or brain impairment. Is that helpful, Chris?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it included like dyslexia.
Um, let's see. What do they have? They have difficulty reading standard print due to blindness, low vision, physical disability, or a reading disability. So dyslexia, yes, would apply. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I have things to add. So,
Okay.
Katura showed you these really cool AccuCut things. So I also want to remind you that with some really creative folding, you could make like that outline fish up near the top, or the elephant. You could make them so they fold open and hang on a clothesline. So we can talk about some creative ways to cut those. It means you need to spend more time at cutting them, but you can manipulate the machine and paper with just a little folding to make these either stand up or to hang. So I wanted to mention that. Also, if you are handing these out to very young kids. Encourage crayon, not googly eye. Although I love that elephant with the eye. I also really love the bug hotel that Katura mentioned. And if any of you in the past few years have done fairy gardens and fairy houses, this might be a nice segue into another way of looking at incorporating nature into your programming. And the last thing, last week we talked about promotion and how you promote your programs. So mostly promotion, you tend to think of that as focusing on what you're doing and have done. Right here in that slide, back up to the hedgehog. So if you have your make and take as a hedgehog or some other foldable, encourage everyone to either read to their book animal and have a photo. Try and put that on your Facebook. He's kind of cute. I wouldn't mind having my picture waiting to him. So how could you combine things and cross use what you've done as a make and take, or even an outdoor socially distanced craft to yet another aspect of your summer? So I'm urging you to be creative about that. Do we have any other questions or comments before we move on?
Tara here in Bath. Hi. Your polar bear reminded me of something that we did. They're really expensive if you buy the real the art ones, which are the foam packing peanuts. There's some that are made out of cornstarch, and they if you wet them, you can build with them. And the fancy ones come in colors and straighter lines. You can buy a really big box, or we have a ton here. I might even be able to shoot some your way. We made igloos out of them. And then we had a polar bear paper that you could cut out and put your polar bear on near your igloo. And that was really fun because it was hands-on. It was kind of STEM. You got to build something. So I just want to mention that packing disposable or cornstarch packing peanuts.
Cool. Thanks, Tara. Okay.
So,
no more
ready?
questions?
Okay, go
Yep.
for it. Nope.
Oh, nope. If you have no more questions, we will move on. And again, you can email me later if you do have a particular question, and I will be sending out the slides. So next up, we have a session on virtual programming with Melanie Miller and Cheryl Ann Wise. Ladies?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I share my screen, please? I don't know why I'm British. I'm sorry. It's fine.
Okay, Sherilyn, I have made you the presenter.
Excellent. Let me just get to the right thing so you don't see any weirdo things. Just kidding. It's just my Amazon. Okay. Do you all see our Genially here? We decided we'd make a Genially to tell you about Genially. Brilliant, right? Okay.
That's what we're talking about today is Genially, just in case you didn't know. Genially.
So we're going to tell you, I'll just jump into our index here. Today we're going to talk to you about what Genially is, what you can use it for, how many dollars it costs, and then some of the applications we've used it for, as well as some additional resources. And if we have time, we'll brainstorm some ideas that you guys may or may not have and answer any questions that we may or may not be able to answer. So without further ado, what is it?
It is like PowerPoint and Canva had a baby, and the two of them created Genially.
And these are
So
just some gifts of
of
babies,
babies.
because why not?
So it has sort of the features of PowerPoint. You can do the stuff of PowerPoint with the applications of Canva. So if you're familiar with both, Genially is for you. You have a leg up already.
So this is just a list of what Genially says you can create with Genially. Presentations, infographics, there's gamification, interactive images, video presentations, guides, training materials, more, and blank creations. So,
And I can tell you that I've played around with Genially since probably December and have barely scratched the surface of it. There's just so much that you can do with it. You can do anything you want, really.
yeah, same. I've mostly used it for the gamification aspect. I made a Santa themed escape room, a digital escape room. I think I shared that with most of you at some point, but I'm currently working on a virtual Easter egg hunt. I have that open. I can show you when we get toward the end. But in the meantime, one thing I always like to know early days is how much is it going to cost?
So one thing that Sherilyn and I realized when we started working on this presentation is that we took two different approaches to the cost of this. So there are two different versions. There's a business version and then there's an education version. So we're going to show you the education version. So I pay for the EDU Pro. I did get a coupon, so I paid $2.99 a month for it. And you can see, you can compare features. However, when talking with Sherilyn for this presentation,
I'm what you would call frugal, so I always start with the free version.
and we've discovered that there are not that many more features that I'm using. So when my year comes up, I'm probably going to go with the free version.
So some of the things that you can use in the EDU Pro version, you can have a private link rather than having it public to anyone using Genially, but we work in libraries, so for the most part, our stuff is public. There are a lot more advanced features that, frankly, I don't have time to learn how to use right now, so I'm not using them.
Same.
There are two things that would be beneficial. The first is that, as you can see at the bottom of my screen, there's this watermark from Genially that can be removed in the paid versions, as well as the only other feature that I would want is not available in the EDU Pro. We'd have to go to the highest level, and that is statistics and tracking. So a way to work around that is really just to post it as a link on social media and track clicks from that rather than clicks through Genially. But it would be useful to have actual statistics from Genially, but I'm not paying $20 a month because no, thank you.
No. Who wants to do that? And I have the ability to remove that watermark, and in every single design that I've done, I don't think I've ever removed it. I just forget.
I mean,
like I get to the end and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm done. Like, let's go. Let's make this thing public.
There's ways to add personal branding as well with the more professional versions, but there's also workarounds to add your logo or, personalized branding without having to pay for it. It's just more tedious. So if that's something that you care about, I think I put our Fox logo on every single slide for the Santa escape room just because we like our logo. It's fancy. So anyway, at this point,
Yeah, so if there are frequently coupons available, so even if it $4.99, you do want to pay for it $4.99, you can sometimes get it cheaper. So I use Genially a lot for interactive images, and this is actually how I found out about Genially. I was on a programming librarian Facebook page and discovered this when a librarian from another library posted a interactive image. They used it as a way of displaying their new items. And so that's how I create sort of displays of our new items. We're not having a whole lot of people come into the library right now, so it's a great way for people to see what's new, what's available for like holiday books, special collections, that sort of thing. So you can sort of add these little buttons.
I clicked
Thanks,
it.
Cheryl. Thank you. So like on my one of her sniffing the book, you know, you can add a little button and it'll take you to the science of smell or whatever. If you want to go back to the regular page, the Genially page, this will show you an example of an actual Genially I've created, an actual interactive image I've created to show off some new audiobooks that we have. So I'll take a picture of a shelf, and then I'll just add some of these little info buttons, and I'll put a little synopsis of the book. Normally I include a link to StarCat in there too, so they can put a hold on the book if they want. For some reason I forgot this in here this time. But then I'll post it on our social media pages. I haven't yet used it on our website though. I just haven't had time to do that. So that's one way I use it. The other way, hold on, I have a patron at my window. I knew this would happen. Hold on just a second. Sorry so much.
While she's doing that, I can give you a brief tour of what it looks like when you're actually in the editor. That's my Easter icon. We'll get to there, but it looks very similar to any software that you've used for presentations. On the left hand side, you've got like this is just a blank template I brought up. Different types of slide templates that you can use. You've got text options on the left. This, if anyone's used Canva, a lot of this looks very familiar to you. With the presets, you can just drag and drop. You should be able, there you go. It's a little slow today. Drag and drop text into your presentation, double click to edit it, all that good stuff. You can insert images from your computer or from websites. I'll talk a little bit more about the resources for that. I do like that it has cutouts built in, because then you don't have to worry about removing the background yourself. Because let's face it, that requires a little bit more tech knowledge and software. So you get, I'll just drag these headphones over here, and you can see that they're formatted as a PNG with no background. So when you put it over top of your presentation, it looks very profesh, soups profesh. Let's see, resources. You also have icons, shapes, charts and graphs, other illustrations. Like I said before, we've barely scratched the surface on a lot of this stuff, and then here's the interactive elements. We've showed you a few so far, and I'll show you a few more in a little bit, but I will give this back to, I'll get this back to Melanie so she's ready for it.
Sorry about that. I knew that would happen. I didn't have anyone all morning, and then I knew the minute that it was like my turn to present, like, okay, now I'm out of breath. Okay. Okay, where were we?
You were going to talk about presentations.
We were going to talk about presentations. The other use I've used this for is presentations. And one of the ways I've used this is these didactic units. Sherilyn, I can see you laughing behind your hand. You're terrible. Anyhow, education. So these are like educational lessons that are sort of like self-guided. And how I use this is we got a grant from Humanities New York for women's suffrage, and this was before COVID, and COVID hit, and then we were like, how do we do what we said we were going to do with a pandemic? And so Genially really helped us with that. So we created this sort of self-guided lesson that people can walk through. Sherilyn's going to show you here. It's exploring women of color and women's suffrage. And so a person can just walk through it themselves. And there are things, you can add things like videos, photos, external links, and quizzes. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with it. It's really good for educators and teachers and stuff like that. There's a little timeline of women's suffrage there. There's the quiz. We can all do the quiz together and see how we do. But that's the other way that we have used it. I'm currently working on another unit for our information literacy subcommittee. We also were able to share that out on our social media as well.
Okay.
Sherilyn's slides are much more entertaining than mine.
That's false. I mean, I did make the baby GIF wall, you know, but
You
that
did
was
make
just
the baby
because
GIF wall.
I was in a weird mood that day.
Then I felt like I had to step up my game. I was like, oh my gosh, I need GIFs.
Well, you know what? That's one of my favorite features, actually, is the ability to embed GIFs, because I communicate a lot through GIFs. It's a real thing that happens, okay? So this is just a video, because I focused on the gamification aspect of it, doing mostly kid stuff. We like games, and you know what? Adults like games too. So
Everyone
this
likes games.
is just a video that's going to scroll through the different types. You can see there are board game templates. There are like guess the song templates. There are quiz templates, which there's the one that Melanie used for her presentation there, and all sorts of themed things, including escape games. So that's what I started with when I made my Santa escape room, but I'm very compulsive and I didn't like it. So I started kind of half with a template, half from scratch, and worked from there. So this is one of my favorite interactive elements that I didn't quite get to when I was showing you the editor, is you can create invisible interactive elements, which is super useful for escape room type things, because you have to hover over them to find out. So let's start. Oh, look, my tool turned to a hand. If I click on the books, on page 324 of the last book in this stack, 3 words are underlined: tall, decaf, cappuccino. What could that mean? So then my next click would take me to the Starbucks cup. And in the Starbucks cup is an envelope. You open it and reveal a key. Hopefully the key will get you out of this very tastefully, obviously a millennial's, decorated office. So that's just a few interactive elements that are invisible. Of course, if someone's stuck, in the upper right-hand corner of every presentation is this little button that says Show Interactive Elements, and that will highlight anything that's clickable on your screen. So people aren't super frustrated. They can get a little clue that way. Okay. So resources. I started talking about this in the editor, and in the resource image tab, both Unsplash and Pixabay are already resources that you can search. So if I want to look for an image of a cup of coffee because, you know, it will show me everything that I have available for a cup of coffee on Unsplash. And sometimes I have better luck, though, looking right on those websites. But the benefit is it's right here. All you have to do is drag and drop. For the most part, you'll be able to find what you need that way. But in case you want to go directly to the websites, those are free resources, Creative Commons licensed, which means you don't have to put a bunch of, I got this resource from so-and-so at such and such. Thank you for the use, you know, because that makes it look not pretty anymore. So.
And if you use Pixabay or Unsplash for like other designs, you know, you can use them for other things too. So they're resources that you have for other
Everything.
things. Everything.
Yes, so let's finish our little tour here. I think I left off on interactive elements. Is that accurate? These are just some of the different button types that you can use. You can have links to your social networks. All you have to do is link them. You've got random numbers that you can link. Here's that invisible area that I love so much. When you're looking at it, it'll have a little bit of a highlight on it so you know where it is and you don't have to go clicking randomly, but you can resize that to be as big or as small as you want. Home buttons, arrows, all sorts of fun stuff. The smart blocks help you create charts and graphs. And of course you can insert audio. Well, that's a premium feature, but you can embed videos if you have a link to YouTube. The video I just showed you is in my Google Drive. So I just took that little screen grab of my own screen and uploaded it to my Google Drive and then added it from there. You can change the background. You can add different types of pages. When you add a page, it brings up the template that you've chosen and all of the different preset slides that they've made for you. Of course, you can use a blank one as well, which is always fun. So I think I was going to show you my Easter egg hunt here. As you can see, this is in the editor mode, and I can see the little boxes that I made. But if I preview that, it's a little slow. Those boxes go away. But when I find one that I've linked already, I'm in the process, it will load my Easter egg, and my Easter egg is going to have a hidden message and you have to unscramble it at the end. Spoilers, it's Happy Easter. Yeah, it's Happy Easter.
Got it.
I'm super creative, guys, super creative. Let's see, what is our next slide? I think it's probably our brainstorming session. So this is where we talk about, you know, what do you guys think of? What are some other random things?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm curious about, I really like your being able to discover the letters for Happy Easter. Where are you going to put this? Are you putting it on your social media? Are you putting it on your website?
It's going to be on social.
Okay.
It's going to be on social media. Yep. And the next, I haven't created the slide yet, but I should be able to create like a form on there that will let people input the message and it'll tell them if it's correct or incorrect. So
thank you.
That's the plan.
We have a message in the chat, Sherilyn. It says, did you build the Easter egg Easter bunny picture?
You know what? No, I found that on Pixabay and it was perfect. I was in love with it. It's on Pixabay, so it's great. So many great resources.
So many great resources.
I personally like Melanie's interactive images a lot. I started one for my new YA books when she first told us about it, because that's one of our sections that doesn't get a ton of circulation right now, just because I feel like a lot of teens are just burnout with online learning and with just keeping up. So they're not just coming to the library to find books. So, I mean, a significant amount of ours go out through interlibrary stuff, but at the same time, I'd really love to get more in-house use, so to speak. So that's one thing I'm working on.
We realized that our DVDs were very much a browsable collection. So we are trying to use it more for DVDs. I'd really like to get it on our website so it was available on there so people without social media could use it as well. And that's just a time thing. I just haven't fiddled with it there. And I was going to say something else. I forgot what it was.
Question from
about
Karen. Oh, sorry. Maybe silly question, but which social media platforms are you using for kids/teens?
I'm posting primarily on Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram for me too. Yeah.
For Facebook, because the littler kids' parents are going to see it there more. Instagram, because even if our teens aren't on it as much, they're more likely to be on Instagram than they are on Facebook.
Yeah,
But
same. Mostly the parents might see it or will see it and tell them, say like, hey, the library has this going on. And I haven't figured out how to use other platforms for the library. Like I know some libraries have Snapchat for their libraries. I haven't figured out how to do that yet for a library.
I'm hesitant to use Snapchat because I can't run it from a computer, and I'd really rather be able to plan things out on a computer than on my phone.
On my phone, yeah. Yeah.
So, although I
And
guess we have
the
iPads, I could do it there, but
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah, I'd rather not use my phone.
Oh, thank you, Sherilyn and Melanie. Are there any final questions or anything you ladies want to share with us?
Oh, the Allegheny County librarians used, I forgot this, we used Genially for our we did
picture book brackets.
Picture book bracket, yeah. So we kept track of the bracket we did a Genially bracket to keep track of our winners of the picture book madness. It was like March Madness for picture books. The Very Hungry Caterpillar won. Is that correct, Sherilyn?
I think so. That sounds right to me.
I think so. I think
That sounds accurate. We'll go with it.
I lost track after a while. There were so many books.
It was a great idea, and it was a lot of work, but I think people enjoyed it. We had a lot of social media traffic based on those books. And people are very opinionated.
Yeah. Chris from Angelica said yes, the Hungry Caterpillar one.
Thank you for confirming that. We're very much slackers on that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So lots of uses for Genially. Make an account. Don't pay for it. Use the free one. And have fun with it. Play around with it.
Yeah, feel free to email us if you get stuck or have any more questions about it. But there are also tons of tutorials on their website as well. So
Yes.
my first reaction is to go ahead and Google it and see if somebody else has done it. And that's how I found an Easter egg hunt, and then was like, well, I can do better. So let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Sherilyn and Melanie. You can see their email addresses on that screen. And I think next, Lori, are you speaking next?
No, I think next we have program resources, don't we?
We can.
No,
Just a minute.
no,
Let me get there.
Nope. I'm out of sync. Sorry.
We'll do Lindsay. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Great. Well, the good news is I will be very brief, but I am just going to give you a quick update on program resource kits. So I know that we stopped loaning those last year when we shut everything down, but now as we are learning more about how touch transfer for COVID happens, and as we are getting to a place where every day more and more people are vaccinated, we are once again comfortable loaning out program resource kits, and you guys are the first to know. So I wanted to mention it on the call first. Yeah, exciting stuff, right? I wanted to mention it on this call first so that you could get a head start on doing some planning for the summer, and then I will send out a follow-up email with some more necessary information that you might need sometime later this week. So just because kits are available, just the caveat of we're not saying that you might want to have 400 people in your libraries all doing the same project all of a sudden, but instead a lot of the kits that might be most useful to you right now are kits that you can use for your story times, virtual or otherwise, or things that are primarily staff-based. So maybe you want to borrow a button-making kit so that you can make buttons to put in some of your summer reading kits, things like that. And then the way that they will operate is that they will have the same quarantine time as every other borrowed item. So we just ask that you just let them sit for a couple of days before sending them back in delivery. We'll let them sit here for a short period of time before sending them out to the next place. So one thing to focus on for the summer is we will be moving to a new kit platform. So you may have noticed, even when signing up for today's session, we have a new resource that we're using at STLS called LibCal. And the benefit of LibCal is that it sets everything up in a way where you can pick the actual week that you would like to have an item loaned for. So if you know when your program is, if you have a program the 3rd week of July and it's May, you can request it for that week. It'll block you off on the calendar. We'll make sure that you have it, and then you're not just at the whim of when things are returned and get through the system. So I mentioned that because there will be a slight learning curve with that, and we will have more information as we get things up on LibCal. But the process of adding everything to LibCal will take a little bit of time. Everything needs a photo and everything just needs a separate profile. So stay tuned for that. We are hoping to have at least a large chunk of things on LibCal by May, but the things that we anticipate you wanting most this summer, we will get started on those first. And then one thing that I did want to mention is, so we know that kits as they've traditionally been used may not be quite as useful to you right now when you can't have a ton of people in the library. So one thing that we've been purchasing over the winter and we'll have ready to go by May are 2 separate kits for outdoor movie screenings, and they include inflatable screens, they include the projectors, they include speakers, DVD players, everything that you'll need to have an outdoor movie time over the course of the summer. So we are working on getting those ready. I'm hoping that we can get those on LibCal first, because I suspect that those will be maybe one of the most useful things for you this summer. And so once everything is added, we will keep you updated via email. And then someone asked maybe in the chat about AccuCut dies. And so we do have, just a reminder, is we do have the AccuCut dies that could be used for you, that Katura used to prepare for today. And you can put those on hold in workflows. Your best course of action is to probably go to cataloging if you just want to do a general search. I think the fastest way is probably to go to cataloging, call number and item maintenance. And then if you search for AccuCut under the general index, it brings up a full list of almost all the AccuCut dies that we have. But if you cannot find anything for some reason, you can always reach out to myself, Lori, or Katura. And between the 3 of us, we're in the building, and we take turns in the building often enough that we can run back there and just sort through the dies to help you find exactly what it is you might be looking for. And so that is pretty much all of my updates. Are there any questions for me? Oh, Barb, that's a good one. Licensing for outdoor movies. So it would be the same licensing that you get through Lori to do any other sort of movie. So, Lori, do you want to talk about movie licensing for a moment? She will share that in a second.
I will. So we receive our movie licensing from Swank, and also called Movie Licensing USA, depending on what you're seeing. Last year, they had a list of movies that you could show outdoors, and they had parameters of how you could use that. We will share that as soon as we see more, but not everything can be shared outdoors. And that's just dependent on not the licensing company, but the production company and or the distribution company. So if that company does not grant the right to do that, then they can't share that out. There are fees that you can pay to show an outdoor movie. I have questions about how valuable that is in terms of what you can do. I mean, it's not the biggest bang for your buck. Not sure about that. So that's a local library decision that you have to do, but there are from the
Sue from Southeast
Right.
Tibet means that last summer you couldn't use the term drive-in movie. I think that they came into a bit of a kerfluffle with whoever owns the term drive-in movie. So thank you for mentioning that, Sue.
Yeah. So there are a lot of parameters that you have to make sure that you're kind of like ticking off before you show that. So we have some equipment. We're going to be able to help you make that smoother, and we will look into the licensing, and I'll share that as soon as I get more information on that. Any other questions about that?
Great, thank you. I'm going to turn it back to you, Lori.
Okay.
Thanks, Lindsay. I am so pumped. Outdoor movies. Woo!
So we have some other programming resources. Yeah, there we go. Some additional resources. Some of these are, if you remember way back in the beginning when we started, I pointed out there was a button where you could look for additional resources right on CSLP. And if we go to the next screen, you can see the National Library of Health has health programming, anything from working with the ASPCA and other kinds of things. The links that Katura has made on this screen also show you pre-done programs, so they're ready to rock. Can you tweak them? Of course. But if you want to do something on animal teeth, you can just click on it. It is a PDF, and there it is. So it's easy for you to go on and do that. Katura, what other things do you want to add here?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Lori. I would just also add that I put these 3 links that they show up on my screen in red: Medline Plus topic, pet health, ASPCA, pet care, and then a link to the programming librarian website, which has some pet related program ideas. So, you know, we love our pets, and one really kind of easy partnership idea is to partner with a local animal shelter, a rescue, animal rescue kind of a group, and see if you can have like an outdoor adoption event. Maybe they could bring some of their animals over and have them on your lawn, and people could come adopt them. Or maybe they can do a demo on how to properly take care of your pet, like I need to learn how to brush my cat's teeth, things like that. Consider contacting some of the folks in your area who work with animals and see if they will come by. And I'm just going to remember this program a couple of years ago they had at Wellsville, which was a puppy now I forget what they called it, but it was like basically a bunch of puppies, and the kids got to play with the puppies, and it was the best thing ever. And just consider doing something like that. You can do it outdoors, socially distanced. And yeah, also the National Library of Medicine, they have some of these programs are for younger kids, like Animal Teeth Story Time, but then citizen science can be adapted for teens or older or adults as well. And they do have like suggested reading lists. So if you want to do a book club around one of these themes, you can do that. So that's good for me, Lori.
And right on this screen points out something that Melanie mentioned, and it's also on this screen, is there is an ALA website called the Programming Librarian, and if you just Google Programming Librarian, it is very cool. There's a whole lot of different things on it. It changes, things come to the top depending on the recent ads, some things that are related to the time frame. So it's always a good idea to have that as part of your, nothing else doing, let me look at the Programming Librarian website. There will be for all ages. So don't hesitate to have a look at that. Just for further things beyond the summer. Doesn't have anything to do with summer. Next. This is also in that pull down right on the CSLP website, the information about connecting with the Nature Conservancy. Katura.
Yeah, so virtual field trips, which I know some of you have been doing. Sue McConnell awesomely has been organizing some and invited me to one. So basically this virtual field trip, I watched this one, Borneo, the rainforest with the orangutans there. It's basically a YouTube video, but there's educational factors. You can also download a teacher guide if you wanted to add some really educational parts, or you can just advertise it as a way for people to take a trip without, leaving the house, doing it safely in a pandemic. So that is a fun opportunity. And there are other virtual field trips from other organizations, but I just spotlighted them because they were in the manual. And then also in the manual is the Nature Conservancy Tails and Tales program guide, which I showed you just a screenshot of make your own bird treats. But that's another resource you might want to take a look at because it's pretty cool.
And Jesse from Pulteney has remarked that they have a collection bin for the shelter set up outside of their library. So one of the things that I think that she's brought up here is making sure if you partner with an organization that you know what kind of quarantining or other special conditions that we might never have had to deal with before, but we might have to now. So does your shelter have to have a quarantine of those items on your end, on their end? And they do not have, so she's working on that. But it's really important that you mention about that kind of partnership. You need to make certain that you know what the limitations are for you and for them and what that entails. So that's a very idea. And maybe a virtual trip to the shelter. That's kind of an interesting idea. So let's go on and look at the next slide. So one of the things of the myriad of resources that are available right here in New York State. If you go to the Department of Education, no, the New York State Department of Conservation, and I put an S on that, that's incorrect. There's a lot of educational things right on that website. For example, you can have a whole lot of programming around with that little bit of an educational spin about the New York State animals. So the brochure on the left side of the screen, just a little snapshot of a brochure that you can download, talks all about beavers. The beaver is the New York State mammal. Who knew, right? So the beaver is the New York State mammal. You can find out more about that. There is also a trifold brochure, which I've had a little snapshot of on the right-hand side, and that talks about New York State symbols, the mammal, the fish, the bird. And if you decide to do something with this, we have at STLS, we have dies, which I did not cut out to showcase for you, but we do have an outline shape of New York State, which is a fairly good size die. It would take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So we have that. We have a beaver, which is also big. We have several fish dies. Now, Katura is showing you the various options of what we had before, had that real basic outline fish. We also have 2 other fish that are much more realistic. And so I know the rainbow trout is something in one of our symbols, and there's another fish. And I don't know if the outlines that we have you would be able to say was a rainbow trout or something else. I don't know, but they're realistic and jumping through the air. So I think that's kind of interesting. So we do have dies with fish. And of course, the state flower is the rose. We have 2 rose dies. One is a close-up of a rose with little leaves, and one is a long stem rose. So those are other opportunities for you to combine some stuff that you can find. Years ago, New York State had a lot of these things pre-printed and you could request them. I've not been able, I've been trying to see if I couldn't get them for us to distribute. Apparently they don't print them anymore. So you would have to use the PDF. And if you looked at the next slide, they have a color book. This is what we used to hand out years ago, and it was pre-done, and you could get them at certain times of the year. I've sent a lot of emails, and I'm not finding that, but it is really very cool. You can, if you have a small group, or if you're going to be focusing on New York State, you can print different ones that, you know, like we're talking about animals, so you probably don't have to print the one on the maple tree, but there are things there that you can use, and they're pretty nicely done. You could add them to a make and take. You can add them to something and have a fairly a nice looking graphic for you to hand out. So the next slide. Okay. They do give out, so if you get the right connection at the DEC, Barb has entered that the DEC gives out color brochures of fish and the New York State fishing map. And if you loan out fishing poles, there's a whole lot of stuff, which I know the Pulteney Library does. There are things like that that they do wish to have you distribute as well. So she has a contact. If you could share that, do you have an email contact? And is he with the DEC or was he with another organization like the Isaac Walton League? Because the educational DEC contact is a woman, not Webb. So I'd love to have more information on that.
He's with the DEC, and they bring us out stacks and stacks of.
Could you get me a contact information? Thank you.
I will when I get back to the library tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, you're good. I don't mean right this minute. That's fine. But if we can get you some other kinds of things, we will try. I have been trying to see if I can't get some things to hand out that you could then in turn hand out if you did some national program. So one of the other things that everybody is saying, and I heard someone say it earlier today, is everybody is like up to here with web resources. So do we always want to do a virtual program? How do we get more? New York State has birding trails. If you just Google this, it is also sponsored with through the DEC. They're not actual physical trails that are lined out, but they have lots of ideas about birding. then it will give you links to other trails, and you'll see these two trails, and I chose these because they are in our service area, one on each end, Big Flat, and the WAG is in Allegheny County, and there are a lot of others. So they tell you the footing on the trail, so they tell you whether it's gravel or asphalt, how rough it is, so then you would know who might recommend it, what they might see. I would encourage you to, the biggest problem I have about this is that, so some things are found on the DEC website, and then if you click or you do other kinds of searching, you can be lost in a rabbit hole really, really quickly. But I do urge you to have a look, and you can urge your, Katura is going out to a site. No? Okay. So I do urge you to have a look at these, and because I know there are people in our area that do not know that this trail might exist in their own backyard. Katura loves the WAG trail. I've heard that from some other people in Allegheny County, and then I've heard other people go, I've never heard of that. So it's right there. And I believe the WAG is an old railroad line. Is that correct? Katura's nodding her head.
Yeah, and
So
it's
there's
really easy to
lots.
walk on. Yeah.
So it's a great way to encourage people to get out in your community and do some outdoor things. You could combine it with, while you're out, could you do a scavenger hunt and find this and find that? So now as you, so thank you very much, Jess. Definitely look, there's a lot of stuff all over, not just these two, which are on the farther end. And I chose those because they were on opposite ends of our system, but there's a whole lot. And if you are in upper Allegheny County, or excuse me, upper Steuben County, maybe going up over into Livingston is just not that far. So there's things that you can encourage that might not necessarily be within our library system, but still within New York State, that are free, cheap, easy things to encourage. And the outlet trail is in Penn Yan. That's a very beautiful site. What other things? What are you guys planning? So we had kind of out of sync here. Does anybody have anything else to share?
I have a question.
Certainly.
Does anybody loan binoculars? It's something I thought of when I saw that birding trail.
That's a cool idea, Chris. You can also get resources from the Cornell Ornithological Center about bird watching in the area. That's another site to look at.
I also have to tell you, like, I know there are, speaking at a kid level, you can buy through some school supply stores some, yes, there are some pretty sturdy binoculars that are not terribly expensive and also not terribly prone to damage. So as Karen pointed out, that we have a bird resource kit and there are some binoculars there. I don't know where that is in the lines of how soon that will be ready to be loaned out, but there are some resources that you might be able to get if you want to go this way and have them available to loan out. Chris, I think that's a really wonderful idea.
Yeah, I can just chime in that binoculars in the program resource kit are kind of cool because we specifically purchased those to be kid friendly. So if you are looking into buying binoculars, I did a little bit of research that I'm happy to share because there are some great ones for adults that are clearly more expensive, but there are some actually very like well-made ones for kids that do a great job that stand up to a little bit of a beating if they get dropped on the ground or something like that.
Any other questions or ideas that you wish to be ferreted out? So I'm going to talk while you guys think of an idea, just interrupt me. This graphic that's on the screen is really close to my heart this year. So Selena Yoon did the graphics for the children's programming. This is a pangolin. And for those of you who do not know, it's actually, I don't think they're actually purple, but it's a pretty realistic version. It is the only scaled mammal that exists. If you came to last week's workshop, you've already heard me talk about this. The National Geographic had an article on, and their big quote that I took away from this, it is probably the only animal that you've never heard of, the most trafficked animal that you've never heard of. It is a highly trafficked animal, a very endangered animal. And so if that's an element of your programming, there's a really cool graphic that you can put together with that. There is also a wonderful picture book that you can borrow from me to see. I really urge you to purchase it actually, but if you want to see what it looks like, I have it. And it's called I Am Not a Penguin. The graphics are bold, plain. The text is in word balloons. Just contact me if you want to see if it is something that you do want to add to your collection. It is also currently in the Overdrive collection as well. So it's just a charming little book, and he's a charming little guy. So now that I've done my little commercial, anyone else? Any questions they wish to add? We are doing really well for time, so we'd love to have. Would it be available as a story walk? Probably not, Jesse. Let me think about that. It has a lot more detail. I don't know if you can see that. I'm pointing at it, but it has a lot of detail, and I'm not sure it would translate well to a story walk. There are story walks, Jesse, the same ones we've had last year. And if my day is long enough, I'm going to see about going to multimedia and getting, we don't know how many there will be. We currently have 3. And I'm working on this week going to get some others, see about getting those created.
Enjoy the story walks and pull me.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people, so we're going to see about doing those again and seeing how we can do those. We've had a lot of people, a lot of you on you, so that's really great. That's really super. And is this a
This right now is asking, she was looking at the camera, but they do have a live stream because so you can watch barred owls breed.
Jesse making a story walk? Parameters are that are as far as the viability, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Let me see what we can come up with, okay? Any other questions and thoughts? Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We will assemble notes and send out the recording. We really want you to share and use our resources because summer this year is going to be great. It's going to be a fun summer with animals, right?
Cool. Thanks, everybody.